Magandang umaga, Malacañang Press Corps, and welcome sa ating press briefing ngayong araw, July 10. Earlier, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. led the signing ceremony of the 2024 Department of Justice National Prosecution Service, or DOJ NPS, rules on preliminary investigations and inquest proceedings. These rules give authority to the DOJ in promulgating preliminary investigations. The rules set by the DOJ NPS aim to uphold due process, protect the rights of the accused, and facilitate the fair and efficient administration of justice in the Philippines. We are joined here today by DOJ Undersecretaries Raul Vasquez and Undersecretary Jesse Andres to further discuss details about this topic. Good morning, Undersecretaries.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Go ahead.
Daphne. Yeah. Good morning. The event this morning is truly momentous and historic because it virtually changes the landscape of criminal investigation and prosecution of crimes in the Philippines. Before, the preliminary investigation rules were lodged in Rule 112 of the Rules of Court. But following a long line of decisions of the Supreme Court declaring that preliminary investigation is purely an executive function and inquisitorial in character, these rules were now transferred to the Department of Justice as the executive branch. And we are truly grateful to the cooperation and collaboration between the Supreme Court and the Executive Department through the Department of Justice that allowed this particular change in the administration of justice. If I may say, the collaboration is not a first actually between the Supreme Court and the Executive Department. We have this Justice Sector Coordinating Council, which is a collaborative effort of the three major actors in the criminal administration of justice. And this would be the Supreme Court as the lead convener, the DOJ and the DILG as co-conveners. And this would transcend the all pillars of the criminal justice system: prosecution, law enforcement, judiciary, the corrections, and the community. We already have 14 such special justice zones that actually pilot the effective, fast, and efficient administration of justice and the collaboration of all these actors to ensure that cases would be handled properly and that no miscarriage of justice would be seen in those areas. The grand vision is to have this matter as the norm in the entire Philippines. So this is a new page, ladies and gentlemen, in the administration of justice, the preliminary investigation. And this actually is just the first step towards greater reforms in the administration of justice, because the DOJ envisions the issuance later on of a DOJ rules of procedure on criminal investigation and procedure and prosecution that will mimic the same role as the rules of court does in judicial proceedings. DC-20, which is the first major reform that the DOJ issued, institutionalized two major anchors in the reform system on the administration of justice. One, the requirement that the prosecution and the law enforcement should cooperate, coordinate, and assist each other in the case build-up. And secondly, the requirement that there be a higher degree or quantum of proof from a low probable cause level to a much higher prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. And as I said, this is part of the continuing process to ensure that more reforms are forthcoming under the vision of our present administration under the leadership of our President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., and with the guidance given to the Secretary of Justice, Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla, and us as the officials who are implementing it, we are truly empowered and we are privileged of being part of this monumental process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Undersecretary Vasquez. Now let's hear from Undersecretary Andres.
Para po sa mga ordinaryong mamamayan, sa bagong rules on preliminary investigation, sinisiguro po na hindi kayo makakasuhan or may isyuhan ng warrant of arrest sa isang kaso na walang ebidensya, na hawak ang prosecution kasama ang law enforcement agents. Yan po ang garantiya sa bagong rules na meron tayong ebidensya na tinatawag na prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction na hawak po ng law enforcement agents kasama ng prosecutors bago kayo makasuhan sa korte. Yan po ang pinaka-importanting pagbabago na nakasaad dito sa ating rules of procedure. At pangalawa po, itong pagsanib puwersa ng prosecution kasama ng mga kapulisan na kumalap ng sapat na ebidensya at mag-develop ng solid cases bago po kayo mademanda sa korte o maisyuhan ng warrant of arrest. So yan po ay para sa proteksyon ng ordinaryong mamamayan.
Thank you, Undersecretary Andres. Let's open the floor to questions. For this part, let's focus on the actual updates from today from the DOJ and PS, and then we'll move on to other topics later on. Raquel Bayan, Radyo Pilipinas.
Good morning, USEX. President Marcos earlier mentioned that this is 9 years in the making, and now that it was signed, how soon can we see the effect po? Yung binabanggit nyo kanina, mababawasan yung volume ng mga kaso na makakakyat sa korte, and then yung speed, sir.
Yeah.
Meron akong statistics. If I may answer that, even now, we already have statistics showing that the case build-up mechanism is very effective. In fact, in the last period that we have measured in the last year, where we have initially started this case build-up mechanism and imposed the higher threshold of evidence gathering, we already have a 93% conviction rate for all those cases that were subjected to case build-up in a 1 year period. Now that we have institutionalized these new rules on preliminary investigation, we expect the figure to be even higher because we will never file a case where we do not have sufficient evidence to begin with. So it has to start with the completeness of the evidence at the start of the trial and not during the course of the trial. That is the big change that we have effected under these new rules.
And to put in context, the new rules on preliminary investigation are not really the ones that started the process of case build-up. We have the Department Circular 20 that was issued last year, March 31, 2023, that institutionalized these two main pillars, the case build-up and the higher degree of proof in the filing of cases, to ensure that no frivolous or harassment cases be filed and no weaponization of penal laws be allowed. And that, more importantly, apart from making sure that there be a greater degree or possibility of conviction of those wrongdoers, the main and the greater purpose actually is to ensure that the innocent should not be unduly charged or incarcerated. And that's the idea of trying to ensure that no miscarriage of justice will be done under our watch. So it's actually DC-20. That was the statistics mentioned by Yusek Jesse pertain to DC-20, which are case-specific. What do I mean by that? DC-20 on case build-up and the higher degree of proof until the new issuance of the preliminary investigation rules. This would just apply to heinous crimes, drugs cases, terrorism financing, capital offenses, and so on and so forth. They are not applied across the board. But the new PI rules would now apply the second requirement, which is the higher degree of proof for filing of cases across the universe of all penal laws.
Sir, just quick follow-up on that. Yung binabagit po kasi yung mga trial ready at yung talaga may mga evidence lang po yung mayakit natin sa korte. So sir, meron po ba tayong figures like how much volume po ng mga hindi trial ready yung mababawas po sa atin?
We also have that particular statistics. For the last year, there were around 30,000 cases that were filed, and 7,000 of these cases were dismissed, meaning they were not elevated to the court trial because the prosecution did not have sufficient evidence. So you can imagine 7,000 cases that supposedly should be filed in court were no longer part of the court dockets because the lack of evidence was apparent at that point in time.
Yeah. And let me just clarify, no, there's no such thing as dismissal of cases anymore on the preliminary investigation level. Because of the case build-up, what happens is that the prosecutor should help the law enforcement. That's the essence of the executive inquisitorial character of preliminary investigation. To ensure that only cases, as mentioned by Yusek Jesse, only cases with the needed evidence, testimonial, real evidence, collaborative witnesses, etc., are already at hand before the filing. And if there would be lacking documents, these cases are not dismissed. These are referred back to the law enforcement agency or to the complainant for the production or for the submission of additional pieces of evidence to ensure that they have a greater chance of being filed. Let me just emphasize, there are only two ways by which cases are ended, criminal cases are ended, and that's the end of it. Number one, if the crimes have prescribed, and number two, if there was double jeopardy already, meaning to say that there was a trial in court and that there was a finding of either guilt or innocence as the case may be. So that's the beauty of a case build-up. And the case build-up is under the leadership of the prosecutor. They are the ones that take the lead. And thankfully, because we have a division in the Department of Justice that goes around and conducts regular trainings. This is the Special Projects Division of the DOJ. Many lecture and conventions and symposia have been conducted by them all over the country with prosecutors and law enforcement as the audience. And when I say law enforcement, it's not only the PNP but also the NBI and the Bureau of Customs and the like. So the matter is such a whole government approach.
Lastly na lang, sir, from my end, how important it is that the Supreme Court recognize the authority of the DOJ to promulgate its own rules on preliminary investigation, and what does that say about the judicial system here in the Philippines?
It works. It works, and it's being refined as we speak. And in fact, even these rules, these are not written on stone, ladies and gentlemen. These are subject to refinements as we move forward and as we see and as we deem fit. This could be amended or further revisited in order to ensure that there be a faster, more efficient, and more effective administration of justice. The mantra in the Department of Justice is real justice in real time. So we are trying our darnest best to ensure na wala na talagang inosenteng makukulong or makakasuhan, at yung mga may pagkakasala, kung sino man sila, ay hahabulin ng ating pamahalaan.
I just like to add to that. Ano po ba ang nakalagay dito sa rules na tumutulong dyan sa real justice in real time? Meron po tayong tinatawag na e-procedures, meaning gumagamit na po tayo ng teknolohiya para sa pag-conduct ng preliminary investigation. Dati-rati po, hindi natin nagagawa yan. Ngunit sa bagong rules of procedure, maaari na po tayo mag-conduct ng video conferencing sa preliminary investigation. Ang submission po ng mga affidavit, pwede na rin through the ICT portal. Isa pong internet portal yan na maaring ma-access ng lahat ng mga partido para po mas mapabilis. Dahil karamihan ng mga complainants, wala pong panahon na magpunta sa piskalya para maglahad ng kanilang reklamo. Ngunit dito sa bagong proseso natin, even a video conference, an e-filed complaint ay iimbestigahan po ng DOJ. And that will be consistent with our objective really to deliver real justice in real time.
Yeah, this is actually the result of visionary leadership of three individuals. The President Bongbong Marcos, the CJ Alex Gesmundo, and DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla. All of us feel empowered because we ourselves were given a wide latitude in terms of initiating different reform programs in the administration of justice. And both of us came from active litigation all our lives. From the time we graduated from UP Law, both of us, we've been in the ramparts, so to speak, of litigation. So we know more or less the ills and the shortcomings, and having been there, having done that, this is time for us to really implement significant measures and reforms that would far outlive us all. Pati nga yung daddy ni Ma'am Chris Villonco, kaibigan namin kasi he's also an active litigator. Si Gion Reyna, si Opap Villonco.
Okay. All right. Question from Ivan Mayrina.
Undersecretaries, magandang tanghali po sa inyo. From a layman, nakikita ko ho kung paano nito mababawasan ang clogging sa mga korte dahil mababawasan in the first place ang mga umaakyat doon. Pero hindi ho kaya lumipat ang clogging sa prosecutor level.
Tama.
Because it will be much difficult to elevate cases to courts. So doon sila magtatagal.
Hindi naman, Ivan. Actually, yan ang unang tanong at unang objection o opposition ng ating mga prosecutors. But I tell you this, isa pa kasing level kasi yan ng pagpa-file ngayon, may tinatawag kaming evaluation stage na hindi pa siya nadadakit. Ito doon titignan ngayon, pagkasampa mo ng kaso, hindi pa tinatanggap yan ng fiscal. Wala pang docket. Kasi yan ang pagkakataon at stage ng proceedings na titignan ngayon ng assisting prosecutor, not investigating assisting prosecutor, kung meron bang sapat na ebidensya. Kung walang sapat na ebidensya, sasabihin niya doon sa law enforcement agency or sa complainant na, Sir, ma'am, kailangan po niyo ng additional na ebidensya dito, may witness, etc. At kung kakailanganin, tumulong sila sa pagpagagawa ng mga affidavits. Wala na po yung divide, yung unseen wall, impenetrable wall because of that false notion na ang preliminary investigation was a quasi-judicial function. With the Supreme Court declaring time and again in many cases na ito ay purely executive in character and inquisitorial even. You know what the Inquisition is, how it was done during the Middle Ages, di ba? The matter is now one where evidence would be presented and the other party, the respondent, under the mantle of our Constitution is granted due process by being given all the chance to traverse the charges and the pieces of evidence. But tama ka dyan, Ivan, na lumaki ang trabaho ng prosecutor. Pero we have to put a stop. Kumbaga, kailangan natin ihinto yung gripo sa start para it would cut across the 5 pillars. Sa law enforcement, dati-dati kasi file ng file. Kung hindi mo titigilan yan, talagang malulunod. At nalunod nga ang ating wheels of justice at that time, yung administration of justice natin. And this time, we have to put a stop to where the problem arose, which was the undue filing of hasty, frivolous cases, harassment suits, and the like. So only quality cases, that's our dream. Only quality cases supported by sufficient evidence would be allowed to proceed to court and to be later on litigated. And that would result to exponential benefits because true, mas malaki yung pag-assess mo pa lang. Pero since konti lang yan, liliit ngayon yung actual na docket sa prosecutor. At konti din lang ang akyat sa korte. At since korte yan, only good cases that are supported by evidence would be heard by the courts, and naturally, ang effect niyan is konti din lang ang pupunta ngayon sa mga prison system natin, and that would actually add up to the efforts to decongest our jails. Apart from the other reforms and efforts to do the decongestion ng jails. And what would be the effect of that kung konti lang yung mga kasong ganyan? Better community, safer communities.
just to be clear also on that point, we are only filing trial-ready cases. So it doesn't mean that we have neglected to do the case build-up on the weak cases. We will continue to do the case build-up on the weak cases, but we will file trial-ready cases because it is pointless for you to file a case where you have no evidence ready to present to the court. You're also wasting the resources of the judiciary. And in fact, we have a circular also that mandates the prosecutors to review their weak cases that they're handling. And they will have to cause the withdrawal of these cases to deglug the courts. So that is a full effort on the part of the DOJ to be more rational in deploying its resources. And of course, we need more prosecutors to do this job.
Yeah. But I have to put in context lang yun, no? Yung automatic dismissal of weak cases, yung walang ebidensya, of those pending cases, those are right now applicable only to first level courts, municipal trial courts, metropolitan trial courts. Ang dream ng both the ng Supreme Court at ang DOJ is to use that as well sa second level courts. Problema sa second level courts, nandyan mga heinous crimes Andyan mga serious cases. We are very careful in not giving too much discretion upon the prosecutors and the judges in the automatic dismissal lest there may be a miscarriage at that level. Kaya kumbaga calibrated, tempered yung moves para lang tignan.
Actually, I was going to that point, Yusek, because with these new rules, hindi ba natin binibigyan ng mas malaking discretion ang piskal, and therefore baka mas magkaroon ng
abuso.
Potential or
abuse.
possibility for abuse of discretion.
Yeah. Alam mo, isa pang, well, it's not a joke na sinasabi namin sa kanila na sila ay Spider-Man. With greater power comes greater responsibility. We have also institutionalized the Prosecution Integrity Board. Again, this Prosecution Integrity Board is actually a nod towards the efforts of the judiciary under the Judicial Integrity Board need nila. And this means that the Prosecution Integrity Board is the watchdog in the manner, the timeliness, and the potential of abuses that may be performed by the prosecutors in the exercise of their rightly...
Who will compose the board, sir?
Members...
Us.
Yeah, us.
Yeah,
Oh.
the Undersecretary.
And that's also under the guidance of the Secretary through the the guidance of the Secretary of Justice Boying Remulla under the actual supervision of assigned undersecretaries.
Kasama po kasi sa proseso bago mag-file ng kaso sa korte ang isang sertifikasyon na pipirmahan ng prosecutor na ayon sa kanyang evaluation, kumpleto na ang ebidensya. At kapag mali ang sertifikasyon niya, walang ebidensya, pinail niya, he will be held accountable under the Prosecution Integrity Board. So, pag-iisipan niya yon kasi requirement po ang isang certification na hawak na niya lahat ng ebidensya para wala pong harassment cases.
Oh, ito Ivan ebidensya yan. Sinabi ni Yusek Jassy kanina na 93% yung conviction rate at 7,000 ang na-dismiss. Ni isa walang nag-complain. Ibig sabihin lamang yan na hindi guilty, kulang. At it's actually part of transparency and accountability na if you are truthful and honest to the complainant, kahit umiiyak yan or masama ang loob niya, kung sabi mo, hindi mo naman pinapabayaan bagkos tinutulungan mo. Sabi mo, ganitong gagawin, ganyan gagawin, ng prosecutor. So, ang una yung tanong nila noon, mas malaking problema namin, mas malaking burden. Yung pangalang tanong nila, baka potaktihin kami ng kaso. Hindi nakasuhan. Sabi nga nila, baka makasuhan kami sa ombudsman, baka masawang kami sa administratibo sa IAS pa dati yan, yung Internal Affairs section. Or makasuhan kami ng kriminal for dereliction of duty, ombudsman, etc. Ang assurance lang namin noon through Secretary Boying, we will be behind you. If you perform your job, we will be with you every step of the way. Thankfully, and I think that's the norm moving forward, walang nakasuhan ni isa.
Panghuli na lang po mula sa akin. Naiisip ko kung paano ito posibleng samantalahin ng defense lawyers naman. Because tinaas natin yung quantum of evidence, hindi ho kaya sa prosecutor level pa lang, doon na sila babanat para hindi na ma-file at all yung kaso.
Well, seriously, we don't have a choice. The Constitution guarantees presumption of innocence. And without evidence at hand, you cannot charge a person and possibly deprive him of liberty. So it is a constitutional guarantee that the evidence should come before the trial. Because in consequence kasi ng trial, you will be issued a warrant of arrest and possibly deprive you of liberty. And we have noted that even for bailable offenses, our poor citizens are in jail because they cannot post bail higher than 10,000. And that is another reform that we have institutionalized, the reduced bail for
Rationalization.
indigent accused. You are allowed to post bail a maximum rather of 10,000 pesos because you are not yet convicted. You enjoy the presumption of innocence. That's why in the course of trial, there is no reason to incarcerate you. That's why we have also addressed the matter of bail by reducing the bail for indigent accused.
Yeah, former President Laurel, back in history, no, a little bit of Philippine history, he was the one who said na it's better to let go of 1,000 guilty than to incarcerate one innocent. So, yan din ang mantra namin. Kaya nga real justice and real time. At madagdagan ko lang yung bail reform na binanggit ni Yusek Jesse. Meron pang ang sitwasyon na wala kang babayaran, hindi 10,000 eh. Batas yan, recognizance law. Yan ay kung bibigyan, merong isang tao, either lawyer or citizen of sufficient standing, social and reputable standing in the community, who will guarantee that person accused would be presented in court when required. Zero ang babayaran mo dun. So that's another area where under what I mentioned kanina na JSCC, that could be institutionalized na kami. Yung court allow niya na ganun ang mangyari kasi maraming mga kaso na pending yung kaso, hindi makapag-bail, or pending yung kaso na desisyonan na probationable, ibig sabihin 6 years or less ang penalty niya, pero hindi ma-release dahil wala yung requirement sa batas na tinatawag nilang pre-probation report dahil sa kakulangan ng mga probation officers. So, we are trying to do that through the probation and parole and probation administration na gumagawa ng paraan, nagpapatulong kami sa IBP, sa mga law students, etc., colleges, para magkaroon ng force multiplier, so to speak, para magkaroon ng tsansa na makalabas yung mga tao. Kasi marami ang nakakulong na either tapos na yung sentensya nila nandun pa. Di ba? Yan ang pinakagrabeng miscarriage of justice. No one of us would want to be inside the jail a minute longer.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this topic? We're ready to move on to the next.
Same topic.
Oh, go ahead. Melvin Gascon.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon na pala. Sir, follow up ko lang doon sa issue on possible miscarriage of justice. Nabanggit nga ni Ivan yung binibigyan natin ng essentially mas malapad na discretion ng mga prosecutors. In cases po na halimbawa, looking back a few years ago, yun pong mga pulis po ang kinakasuhan. Now, ngayon po sa sitwasyon natin, sila din po sa kanilang din po manggagaling ang ebidensya eh. So it will be very easy for them to simply siguro just to sabotage the case. Kung sila mismo ang may kasalanan, they can just sabotage the case by probably walain lang yung isang piraso ng ebidensya. So hindi ho ba magkakaroon ng konting problema doon considering na one single piece of evidence missing would probably not lead to the filing of a case?
If I may
Yes, please.
answer that.
I'll add up na lang.
Well, police officers are also citizens of the country who enjoy the constitutional guarantees on due process. So whenever there are instances where police officers are involved in a crime, there is also a mechanism, the audit system within the Philippine National Police, the IAS, Internal Affairs, where they conduct an independent investigation not involving the particular police officers involved. And there is such a mechanism, and in fact, I am pleased to inform that 200 police officers have been dismissed due to serious offenses, and another 180 have been demoted due to this process of investigation where they have committed infractions. So there is a working accountability mechanism, and this is still guaranteed by the Constitution even to police officers. And I do not see any reason this will happen in an unjust manner, because the prosecutors now are heavily involved in the investigation of the case at its inception. Unlike before, that we just wait for the submissions of the law enforcement agents, now we are involved from the very beginning of the investigation. The prosecutors are there as a way to assure the effective and the fair collection of evidence.
Yeah, just to add, no, there's a possibility yung sinasabi mo kanina, Melvin, no? But that possibility is lessened to a great degree by the case build-up. Bakit? Kasi kung may makita ng prosecutor na kulang na ebidensya or tinagong ebidensya, they can ask other law enforcement investigative bodies to do a parallel investigation. The NBI is there. So any other or other units of the PNP, perhaps we could ask the CIDG to come into play in order to ensure a more rigorous and comprehensive investigation. Apart from what you mentioned kanina nga na baka yung sinasabi mo, withheld evidence or sabotaging, etc. Though may presumption sa batas din kasi na regularity of functions, na itong mga taong yan ay gagawin nila yung trabaho nila. Kasi kung nahuli sila, gaya ng sinabi ni Jesse kanina, ni Yusek Jesse, they would be answerable not only administratively but criminally and civilly as well. So maraming mga prosesong ganyan, and I think we just have to give it a serious try para matingnan natin kung saan natin pwedeng i-tweak, i-improve at i-refine pa yung mga proseso natin kung kakailanganin. At maganda naman ho ang samahan, pati DILG kasama po natin sa effort na to in improving the administration of justice. Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, yung JSCC, very active po ang DILG, ang DOJ at ang Supreme Court to pilot, quote-unquote, the effective collaboration and convergence of the different pillars of the criminal justice system ng Pilipinas.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes left. Oh, follow-up. Okay.
Sir, clarification lang. You mentioned kanina, wala na yung quote-unquote dismissal of cases at the prosecutorial level. Ano po what will terminate a certain complaint po, sir? Halimbawa, may nag-file ng complaint and then it is deemed hindi talaga siya papasa.
Walang hindi maabot, hindi abot.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Dismissal 'yon.
Dismissal.
Pero doon sa evaluation stage, 'yun ang sinasabi ko kasi remember na evaluation hindi pa nakadakit. Pag meron yung certification na ready for preliminary investigation, then it is docketed. Then the preliminary investigation is commenced, technically speaking. Kasi dito sa stage ng evaluation pa lang natitignan, kinakalap, tinitignan, maraming ganyang kaso na hindi pa siya nakadakit. Pero na-file na sa DOJ or sa mga piskalya natin. Titimbangin nila kung kulang ba. Kasi at that point, tatakbo na kasi yung period yan na mag-decide. So, ginawan din namin ng konting allowance na i-evaluate mo muna. Pag ready yan, yung merong ebidensya, magsisertifika ngayon yung assisting prosecutor that this case is ready for preliminary investigation. Then magkaroon ng preliminary investigation, bibigyan ng tsansa yung respondent na magsampa ng counter affidavit at magsumite ng mga iba-ibang ebidensya din niya para may pakita na wala talagang kaso. At kung walang kaso, then dismissed. Kung may kaso, then magpa-file sila
kung aabot sa level ng prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty. Pero may certification ulit yan. Doon ngayon yung certification that this is ready, na may ebidensya na susuporta sa reasonable certainty of conviction.
Dagdag ko lang, itong konsepto ng human justice kasi is all based on evidence. So we cannot proceed with the trial of a case without evidence. And what other steps have we taken to ensure that evidence can be properly gathered? We are now engaging the community, civil society organizations who are helping victims in gathering evidence. Sometimes the government is not there, approachable, or not visible in a particular situation, but these victims come to civil society organizations, and there's nothing wrong with it. And we continue to engage CSOs to be part of the community, the process of gathering evidence. That's why we have now close links with civil society organizations in their quest for justice, because we support whatever advocacy that they have.
Yeah. Actually, i-contextualize ko yan. Nung 75th anniversary ng Universal Declaration of Human Rights sa Geneva, pumunta ang ating gobyerno through Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, at 3 po ang pledges na ginawa dyan. Una, yung pag-create, pag-establish ng Human Rights Coordinating Council. Ito ay naging totoo na. Ito yung Special Committee on Human Rights Coordination. Pangalawa, itong pagkakaroon ng Human Rights Plan, ginagawa na yan. Itong isa, meron na. In fact, itong end of the month, magiging effective na yan. At isa din sa isang reform na gagawin. So, tapos na yung isa. Yung pangatlo, yung pagkakaroon ng Forensic Institute. Ano po itong Forensic Institute? Ito po ang pamamaraan na science-based investigation and prosecution. At bukas magkakaroon ulit ng isang signing naman ng United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, ang Department of Justice at ang UP College of Manila for the autopsies of Bucor deaths. We start with that kasi wala pa tayong mga opisina na merong Forensic Institute. Yun siguro ang NBI later. Pero 2 beses na pong nagpunta ang Special Rapporteur on EJK, si Dr. Maurice Tidbal-Bins, on academic visits para i-train yung mga doktor natin at mga ating sa kapulisan at NBI para sa forensic science investigation. In fact, last June, merong mga doktor tayong pinapunta sa Buenos Aires, I think, for training under the Minnesota Protocol. Yung Minnesota Protocol ay convention po ito kung paano pagkakaroon ng kakayahan, evidence gathering, science-based, etc. para lalong mas malalim at hindi na haka-haka, hindi na suntok sa buwan na ebidensya, kundi science-based ang prosecution natin. Yun po ang purpose.
Final clarification ko lang, sir. Yun pong remedies available under the rules of court in case na mayroon pong abuse of discretion sa part ng fiscal, available pa rin po
Of
yan,
course,
sir?
the power of judicial review is a constitutional power. So it's still there. Any abuse at any level could still be questioned. Kaya nga lang yung proseso, mas simplified, mas klaro, at mas direct to the point. Hindi na yung maraming proseso na medyo paikot-ikot.
Okay, we have little time to accommodate more questions. Tuesday New.
Hi, sirs. Other topics.
Yes.
Ano po ang progress ngayon dun sa extradition kay former Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr.?
Okay.
Okay. We are glad to confirm that we are already in the last stages of the extradition process. We are assuring Mr. Teves his right to due process in all aspects of the proceedings, including his right to file the motion for reconsideration on the decision to extradite him. And that will lapse in 30 days. So we are very confident and we are on top of the situation.
Yeah. Proseso ng Timor-Leste yan kasi doon ang nangyayari. So yung binigyan sila ng 30 days para mag-file ng motion for reconsideration, which is actually an appeal dahil hindi pa ho kumpleto kasi yung justices nila sa Supreme Court ng Timor-Leste, kaya yung magdidesisyon yan yung same na nagdesisyon na korte, yung Court of Appeals. So, pag nakapag-file sila, they have 30 days. Yung Prosecutor General naman ng Timor-Leste ay may pagkakataon din na sumagot at doon magkakaroon na ng desisyon. Ang ating gobyerno naman ay naghahanda para sa pagpapabalik sa dating Congressman Arnie Teves, kasi malakas po ang aming belief, ang paniniwala na since there are no new evidence actually that may be presented dahil naipresenta lahat-lahat 5 ho ang witnesses natin dapat dyan. 2 pa lang narinig ng Timor-Leste Court of Appeals, si Undersecretary Nonoy Catura ng Presidential Human Rights Commission Secretariat at saka si Raul Villanueva ng Court Administrator. Hindi na nila pinagsalita yung 3 pa at nagdesisyon na sila. Kasama na diyan dapat si dating retired retired Supreme Court Justice Francis Ardilesa, si Bucor Director General Greg Katapang, kasi question nila na baka masaktan siya or papatayin siya while in detention. And then yung pangatlo ay yung chairperson ng Amnesty Commission, si Chair Leia Tanodra Armamento. So yung 3 yun hindi na pinagsalita
Okay.
Sir, kailan po nag-start yung 30 days niya?
I think 2 weeks ago, Thursday. Oh. Or nakapag-file na, hindi natin alam. That's their strategy na yan. Normally, kung ikaw ay depensa, buuin mo yon, di ba? Pero kung gusto nila i-advance, wala namang problema din Pero let me just emphasize na kahit na ano man ang mangyari yan sa extradition process na yan, meron pang isang bagay na pwedeng gawin ng Timor-Leste, deportation. Dahil undocumented na siyang dating kanselado na po yung passport niya So either case, we are confident na babalik siya sooner or later. At sana po, para ho malagyan na po ng tuldok itong issue na yan, kung may kasalanan siya o wala siyang kasalanan, magpunta na lang siya dito at nandyan naman ho yung will of justice natin na gumugulong. Proof positive ang ating Senator De Lima. Wala namang nangyari.
Ivan, Myrina.
Panghuli po, ay nagsalita po yung kampo ni Pastor Kibuloy, kino-question yung pag-aalok ng 10 milyong pisong pabuya sa makapagtuturo sa kanyang kinaroroonan, sa kanyang pagkaka-aresto. Bakit daw tumatanggap ng private money ang gobyerno para ipahuli si Pastor? Ano hong tingin ng DOJ dito?
Alam mo, mahirap mag-speculate dyan sa bagay na yan. At ang nakakaalam lang at makakasagot ng tama at kompleto ay ang ating DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos. But, let them clear the air about that.
I'll give you a different perspective on that matter. In the 5 pillars of the criminal justice system, community is one important pillar. And those who have knowledge or information about the whereabouts should actually cooperate. And those who stand in the way on the enforcement are actually guilty of obstruction of justice. So let's put it that way. With or without the incentive, the community should really help to give the accused a chance to clear his name in court, where due process will be observed to the hilt, consistent with the constitutional guarantees.
Okay. Thank you very much for this briefing. Thank you, Undersecretary Vasquez and Undersecretary Andres, and congratulations on
Thank you.
taking-
Pleasure is ours. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
This concludes our press briefing. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps.